Did you see the thing about every AI company logo being an asshole?
No.
So Robert Reich, Clinton's labor secretary, went on Stephen Colbert, and he said, "These are my thoughts on how we save democracy. Are the same today as when we last spoke on the Colbert Report in 2010. So do you want to hear?" He says we need to get big money out of politics. I think everybody's for that, but that's not what he says, and that's not exactly what Colbert says. Let's watch what they say.
Last time we spoke was 15 years ago.
Yes, you haven't changed.
Neither of you. On the Colbert Report. And then, of course, I couldn't really agree with what you were saying or really even understand what you were saying. But one of the things that you said in that interview has stuck with me ever since. We were talking about economic inequality in the United States and what the fruit of that would be. And you said at the time, here's the choice.
Well, can I just say how economic inequality got really exacerbated in the United States? How about when Barack Obama took over and he made sure the bankers got their bonuses while he kicked 5.1 million families out of their homes? How about that? How about when he made sure that you would still go bankrupt if you got sick by giving you a right-wing healthcare plan that was invented by the same people who invented Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation? And so income inequality got even worse during Barack Obama. So again, they're not going to go after the real problem. The real problem is the uniparty, and they all work for the same people. And it's the handful of billionaires that actually run everything. And so, okay, so they're going to talk about income inequality. And what are the reactions that do the populists make when we have incredible income? And by the way, we have greater income inequality today than we've ever had in the history of our country. Worse than the Gilded Age. Okay. And remember what the Gilded Age means. The Gilded Age means that there's a thin veneer of gold above everything that's masking the rot underneath in our society. That was why they call it the Gilded Age. Now we're worse than the Gilded Age.
We have reform. And in this country, we have always chosen, when we understand the nature of a problem, we always choose reform. Reform that enlarges the circle of prosperity for most people.
We've always chosen reform? No, we haven't. We didn't choose reform in 2008 when the Wall Street crashed the economy after deregulating the Wall Street investment banking and turning it into casino hopping. We never reinstituted Glass-Steagall. We never did that. Okay, we never gave people health care that wouldn't bankrupt them. We never did that. We never did any of that stuff. We had Occupy Wall Street, and then they learned how to turn the country against each other. Who's they? The people who run the media and the same people who run the government, the billionaire class. They turned those people because the right and the left came together on Occupy Wall Street. And so they turned us against each other, calling half the country racist, white supremacists, sexists, fascists. And the Democrats are supposed to be protecting democracy, even though they don't have democracy in their primary. They rigged both their primaries, 2016 and 2020. And then in 2024, they just didn't even have one. So there's actually more democracy in the Republican Party, for sure, as a fact, than there is in the Democratic Party. So again, this idea that you're voting for democracy is just talking points from a billionaire class. And that's what they're doing right here. So let's watch this.
So
here.
And in this country, we have always chosen, when we understand the nature of a problem, we always choose reform. Reform that enlarges the circle of prosperity for most people. Or we have a backlash, an angrier politics that picks on immigrants or foreign trade or blames the poor or even the rich. I was really hoping the first half of that statement would be true. I kept on waiting for, I think you said at the time, like the tap of justice to be opened a little bit, just so those at the top could preserve their position. Because this second half leads ultimately towards some form of revolution. Where would you please oraculate as to where we go from here? Because I think we know which one of these two it turned out to be.
Well, I think we have no. So
he's pretending that there was a real choice in our election in 2024. There wasn't. The same stuff that's happening was going to happen. Let's remember that Barack Obama built those cages that they used to cry about Donald Trump putting immigrants in. Barack Obama deported twice as many immigrants as Hispanics as Donald Trump did in his first term. Without any due process, by the way, also. Without any due process. So...
But he goes blaming people.
Stephen, except to hope and work for democracy. And
we have to hope and work for democracy, except when Democrats are in power. We don't talk about oligarchs. We don't talk about billionaire money. We don't talk about democracy in our primaries. We don't talk about unrigging the voting system.
I'm not supposed to have to hope and work for that. I'm supposed to have lived in that for the last 200 years.
So, yeah.
What is he talking about? And also, the people they blamed, did you hear that? The big tent they have of both poor people and global trade?
Yeah.
What are you talking? Oh, that sad group. Oh, Intel communities and immigrants.
Make the rule of law, again, the rule of our country.
How do you, I'm just curious. I agree with you.
How do we make the rule of law the rule again in the rule of law? You mean the fascist rule of law when you forced everybody to take an experimental medical treatment, or they couldn't go to work, or you closed down their workplace, or they couldn't go to college, or they couldn't go to school, or they couldn't travel? You mean that kind of rule of law? Or how about the rule of law where the FBI, the CIA, and the entirety of the media concocts a hoax to frame the sitting president of the United States as a traitor to our country so you can undermine our democracy? You mean that kind of rule of law? You mean go back to that kind of... Or how about when Joe Biden pardons every person in his family because they were taking payoffs from foreign countries? You mean that kind of rule of law? How about the rule of law where you censor people trying to report on Hunter Biden's laptop? You mean that kind of rule of law?
How about all the presidents go to the Hague to be tried like Nazis for the Nazi war crimes they all did?
Yeah.
We tortured some folks.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're moving on.
So, you mean the rule of law when Barack Obama didn't prosecute the people who did an illegal war and then ordered a torture program worldwide to cover it up? And he said, I'm not going to prosecute them. I mean, that kind of rule of law.
How about the Holocaust they just did in Gaza in front of your dumb face?
Right, yeah. How about that kind of rule? How about the rule of law where Barack Obama killed an American citizen, a teenager, extrajudicially without any... just did it with the drone and then bragged about it? You mean that kind of rule of law? So these guys, again, they just concoct this phony situation where the Democrats are for democracy and the rule of law, even though every piece of evidence of long-term and short-term shows you the exact opposite. They haven't had a real primary in the Democratic Party for 10 years, for a decade. They rigged it in 2016. They rigged it in 2020. And then they didn't even have a primary in 2024. They just appointed the Wall Street's darling, which was Kamala Harris, after they committed a coup. In the words of Jim Gaffigan, they committed a coup so they could preserve democracy.
Well, we do that a lot around the world.
Yeah.
Right? Why wouldn't they do it here?
What a lot of the last campaign was fought over. It didn't move the majority of Americans.
He's saying that's what a lot of the last campaign was fought over, meaning 2024. It was fought over the rule of law and democracy. The rule of law. You know, the rule of law, meaning we get to use lawfare against our political opponents. Not only the former president, but everybody, his lawyers and everybody around him. We're going to prosecute all those people. How about we over-prosecute January 6 people, something that was rigged, instigated, and concocted by the FBI, so we could criminalize a political movement? The rule of law. Joe Biden was demented for 4 years, and they lied to you in concert, all of them. The political class, the U.S. media, everybody, the newspaper, they all lied to you. You mean that kind of rule of law where you're duped into voting for a demented guy? I mean that kind of rule of law. This the kind of stuff, it makes me think that they really believe it. That's what I can't get over, is how he said, yeah, the last campaign, that's what we were fighting about. But the country didn't choose the rule of law and democracy. That's what he's saying right here.
Yes, he's a character actor. He's doing his character. I mean, he's an actor.
Let me back this up.
All law, again, the rule of our country.
I'm just curious. I agree with you. That was what a lot of the last campaign was fought over. It didn't move the majority of Americans.
Because that's not what the campaign was about. So you're pretending that's what the campaign was about. The rule of law, democracy. It was the exact opposite. It was someone being installed by the oligarchy without a primary, without a vote from the American people. That's what it was about. Because that's why it wasn't about. So he's just making this up that's what it was about.
Anyway, now we know. It doesn't matter who the president is because Israel was going to be.
Israel's always been the president of the United States. It's always been Israel.
Is it the rule of Noahide law?
I'm just curious, how do you actually make that a reality, do you think? Because it's an excellent goal, but how do you make that immediate in people's lives so they make that a motivating factor?
You get big money out of politics.
But not when. So I just want to let you know. So that it gets a big cheer. So they act like we're the good guys. We're the choir boys. We're the Boy Scouts. We want to get money out of politics. Oh, really? Because I don't know if you know, in 2020, Biden had nearly twice as many billionaire supporters, 230 versus 130, giving him a broader base among the ultra. He had twice as many billionaire donors as Donald Trump in 2020. Yeah. What about 2024? Well, in 2024, president election, Kamala Harris had more billionaire donors than Donald Trump. 83 billionaires supported Harris, 52 backed Trump. So you mean that kind of get money out of? So I thought that's what we were voting. That's not what the campaign was about. I like this.
The Melons were supporting Trump. That's interesting. The scumbag Melons.
I like this. This guy, Bobby Bruce, says, absolute nonsense. If we get big money out of politics, how are we going to get Beyonce and Taylor Swift to play at our political rallies?
Yeah. Get big money out of orgies, I say, Jimmy.
Just when you...
Too many big money blood orgies.
Get big money out of politics just when you thought your quixotic unicorn hunt couldn't be any less realistic. You got somebody say, hold my beer. We're going to get big money out of politics.
Wow, it's so simple. It's like as good as a John Lennon lyric. Give peace a chance. Pete Holmes has a great joke about how stupid his lyrics. Give peace a chance. Thanks, John. Yeah, we'll try, John.
We'll try.
There's all these generalities, no specifics from this weird hip dysplasia dwarf.
I just thought we go, democracy. We got a democracy again. Robert Reich knows how to pull down a conversation to hyperbolic sloganeering faster than America can send another $1 billion to the most moral army in the world. So anyway, should I let me play it once all the way through just to see the sincerity in the lying that Stephen Colbert, just the way they just have to frame everything 100% dishonestly so they can sleep at night. And their crowd loves it. It eats it up. They're like trained seals.
Last time we spoke was 15 years ago.
Yes, you haven't changed.
Neither of you. On the Colbert Report. And then, of course, I couldn't really agree with what you were saying or really even understand what you were saying. But one of the things that you said in that interview has stuck with me ever since. We were talking about economic inequality in the United States and what the fruit of that would be. And you said at the time, here's the choice we have. Either we have reform. And in this country, we have always chosen, when we understand the nature of a problem, we always choose reform. Reform that enlarges the circle of prosperity for most people. Or we have a backlash, an angrier politics that picks on immigrants or foreign trade or blames the poor or even the rich. I was really hoping the first half of that statement would be true. I kept on waiting for, I think you said at the time, like the tap of justice to be opened a little bit, just so those at the top could preserve their position. Because this second half leads ultimately towards some form of revolution. Where would you please oraculate as to where we go from here? Because I think we know which one of these two it turned out to be.
Well, I think we have no choice, Stephen, except to hope and work for democracy and to make the rule of law, again, the rule of our country.
But how do you, I'm just curious. I agree with you. That was what a lot of the last campaign was fought over. It didn't move the majority of Americans. I'm just curious, how do you actually make that a reality, do you think? Because it's an excellent goal, but how do you make that immediate in people's lives so they make that a motivating factor?
You get big money out of politics.
It makes me think that shit libs like Stephen Colbert actually believe the garbage they're saying. That it's like he's been telling himself this lie for so long, for 10 years straight. He's been telling himself this lie. He actually believes it.
Have you not met actors? What do you think? Do you think that's what an actor is? A hollow shell of a whore. You know? Then you just put words in them and they believe them and it's really convincing and they get awards and shit. So sometimes the intel agencies, remember they're being funded through USAID. Obama made that legal. So that's how this guy they got the laughs out of late night. They got that part done of the plan. By the way, this cat demands to see Robert Reich.
And if you'd like to see me make fun of Stephen Colbert, you can see me in Rutherford, New Jersey, Manhattan, New York, or Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, or in Chicago, or Appleton, Wisconsin, or Louisville, Kentucky, South Bend, Indiana. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to stuff.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Hey, the next thing you know, the Epstein files will be declared AI generated. Zim in Seattle. YouTube, that's your handle. Believe me, the pleasure is all mine. Sparky, HAL 9000 action. Hey, let's play Global Thermonuclear War. WOPR, computer from War Games, Sparky. Why the Pesticide Liability Protection Act threatens our food supply and the health of our nation, zerohedge.com. That's from YouTube. Hey, it's okay because America doesn't have nearly the energy infrastructure needed for Stargate and probably never will. Check out Inside China Business on YouTube to learn more. Octagon. The small hat mafia poisons the food supply. YouTube. The Terminator.
Do you think it's really just the Jews and not the stinking Catholics and the stinking Mormons too? Shut up. That's a little Catholic twit that's saying that to you. That's one of them little Fuentes fuckers.
I think you're right about that one.
Yeah, so listen, fuck the Pope too, motherfucker. Hey, your Pope wears a yarmulke if you're talking about tiny hats. You know that, right? What are you talking about?
The Terminator film series predictive program two important things. Judgment Day cannot be stopped, only delayed, and it's in humanity's nature to destroy ourselves. Some of these sociopaths want that. Hey, you.
It is not in humanity's nature. They train you to be that way. These scumbags despise you and they want to thin out the herd to a controllable amount. It couldn't be more obvious. All that thing about we were bad and deserve it comes from the top down. And it's horse shit. No, most people don't want to live like this.
Kurt, do you know it's International Cat Day?
Is it? Well, is that why the cat came in? Jenna's cat comes in, then she demands attention during the show. Every show. Is it International Cat Day? I had a cat for Cat Day.
Okay, back to Steph. People keep doing more AI for the same reasons. They keep chasing the Marxist ideal. They know it's a shit show, but they think it'll work when they're the ones doing it. Mediocre witch. Thank you. I love how nobody can control AI except to censor us. For censorship, there's always a patch. It's human, except to use independent journalist sources. Radvoke.
If they thought AI was a threat to them, they would kill it immediately. Okay? They would starve it to death if they thought it even potentially could be a threat to them. It's a threat to you. It's not a threat to the people making it. All that bullshit where they're concerned, but they keep doing it should be a major clue.
Yeah, agreed. The Nova Scotia story is the first step of climate emergency lockdowns. You should cover it. Find the video of the Premier Führer Houston giving his speech. Pentovovin, thank you for that one. We're in the grifted age, Jacob says. Glad Jimmy still does this. I'm so tired of the BS. There's only one solution. Mr. B.
Can I show you?
And back to Jimmy.